Okay, so I thought I would do a video on how to cook the perfect steak. And what I mean by perfect steak is we're gonna have a great brown outer crust. The inside is gonna be a beautiful medium rare. And well, it's just gonna be great. So what we're starting with here is about 1.5 inch thick ribeye. And I don't know if you can see these, but I actually got these from the store today. They were fresh cut. And they've got some nice marbling. And all I've done so far is I've given each side a very generous coating of pepper and salt. And I'm doing the last one here. We'll just get some good, thick rock salt on that. And the reason you want to do this with rock salt is because the salt itself, when it's in these big crystals, will create a real nice salty crunch when you go to eat. So that's all I've done, salt, pepper. That's all you need with these great steaks, because when you cook them the right way, you really get that just beautiful flavor that's gonna be part of the meat. We're gonna add some butter and some garlic later, but for right now, this is about all we've done. So we've got our steaks ready, and we'll go over to the grill here in just a second. So we've got the Blackstone going, and I don't know if you can see just how high the heat is here, but one of the tricks to cooking a perfect steak is you want really high heat. You want this surface to be almost hot to the touch from 6 inches or so. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add a little bit of oil, because this is gonna really help with that browning. And you might not be able to see it too well, but you'll be able to hear it as soon as we put the steak on. You're gonna hear that real nice sear. And so we've got the Blackstone going. We're gonna spread out all of this oil so that we make sure that we get real good contact, and when the steak hits it, it's going to start that browning process right away. Here we've got those steaks that we seasoned just a second ago, and I'm going to pick these up and just show you just how thick those are. And we're going to set these on the oil, and you're going to just hear it hit. And that's what you want to hear. If you don't hear that sizzle right away, then your surface isn't hot enough, and you want to make sure that you get that steak off as soon as you can. But there we have that one going, and over here we've got another steak, and we'll put that one on. And you can hear that sizzle. And here comes our fourth steak. And so we're gonna put that one on, and he'll join the party. And we're just gonna let these things sit for about a minute. We're not gonna do anything else with these, because we want that surface to start that crusting process. And so we're gonna leave that alone. If you're cooking on a regular grill, it would be the same thing. If you're doing a pan-fried steak, it'd be the same thing. You wanna make sure that you've got good surface contact with the steak and the metal, and you're just gonna leave it alone for just a minute. So we've got these steaks cooking, and they've been on there for just about a minute or so. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is on the other side of the Blackstone, we're gonna put some more oil down, because we're gonna flip these over. And when we flip them over, you're gonna see just how that crust is coming along. And the reason we don't flip them in the same spot is we want that super hot surface and that initial contact to start that searing process. And so you'll see as I pick this one up with the tongs, and I'll just move it over, you can already see how that crust is coming along. And as long as we keep it nice and hot, we're gonna keep with that crust, and we're gonna just seal in all of those great flavors that are in the meat. Now this steak is by no means done. Even though the outside looks nice and crusty, we're not even halfway there. So it's just been about a minute, but we've got this steak. Oops, that one's getting away from me. But we've got this steak, and you can see how this crust is coming along. And so we're gonna let this sit here on the surface for just a minute, and then we're gonna come back in just a moment with some butter and some garlic, and we'll show you that in just a second. The next process to cooking this perfect steak is actually pretty simple. What we've got here is just a regular stick of butter, and we've got 1 clove of garlic. And what I'm gonna do with that clove of garlic is I'm gonna smash it just a little bit here on the cutting board, because what I wanna do is release all of the nice garlicky juice that's in there. And then with our butter, I'm gonna take my trusty Swiss Army knife here, and I'm gonna cut just a couple of pats here, about 4 of them, because we have 4 steaks. And we'll use this to go ahead and start the seasoning process for the meat. And so what we do is we just go ahead and take one of these pats of butter. We're just gonna place it on the meat itself, and we're gonna do the same thing for all 4 of them. We're just gonna give it a little bit of butter on top, and what's gonna happen is that butter's gonna melt, and that's gonna go ahead and aid in the cooking and the seasoning process of this steak. And so now you can see that that butter has started to melt, and here it's just kind of falling off, so we want to help that along. We're going to take this meat and we're going to turn it back over. We're going to move it to the other side of the grill because we want that butter to start browning on the other side. And when that happens, it's going to give it this real beautiful nutty flavor, and it's going to be terrific. So we're going to flip the steak over. We're going to add some more butter to the top, and at this point, what I'm going to do is just kind of take the stick of butter and just rub some over the surface, which is also a fine way to do it, and you get nice even coverage that way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this clove of garlic that we crushed, and we're going to rub the steak with that. And remember, I talked about getting all those nice garlicky juices all over the meat. And the steak's been cooking for about 4 or 5 minutes by this point. And so we're getting real good flavor. We're getting some good heat. We're going to get our instant read thermometer out here in just a minute. And we're going to take a temperature. We're looking for about 125, 130 degrees for a nice medium rare. And so that's what we'll be doing next with just one of these instant read thermometers. And so what we do is we're going to go in through the fattest portion of the steak, and we'll be able to see just where we are. And so we've got one of those steaks up. It's one of the thicker ones, and I've got my instant read in there, and you can see we're still about 75, 76 degrees. So we're going to keep this process going until we get a nice brown, even coat and a nice crust on each side. So it's getting kind of dark out here. I don't know if you can see, but we're just out here in the backyard, and the sun is going down. So it's going to be a great night for some steak. We're going to go ahead and flip these over again. And as we, we're going to flip these over again. And as we do, we're going to keep that process of flipping these steaks going about every minute to 2 minutes, something like that. We want to make sure that we're cooking evenly on both sides, and we're getting that nice crust that we're looking for. So we've got the steaks going, and one way that I have of, if I can grab it here, one way I have of making sure that I've got all my steaks flipped is I keep them in the same orientation. And so I know now that they've all been flipped, and when I flip them, what will happen is I'll actually turn them that way. If you're doing this on a grill, you could do the same thing. That'll give you some really nice grill marks. But for what we're doing tonight, that's kind of the way I'm going about it. So we're going to keep flipping these back and forth until we get up to that 120, 130 degree range. And then we're going to let these rest for at least 15 minutes. And we'll end up with a very nice, beautiful, medium to medium rare steak. Okay, well, the light's not so good, and I don't know how well you can see that, but these are the finished steaks. We finished them up to about 125, 130 degrees at the middle. We're going to let those rest because they've got to come up to temperature, carry over. We'll bring them up another 10 degrees. So they'll be right in the mid-130s, which is right where we want to be. So we're just going to leave those alone. They're sitting on the shelf here next to the griddle. And so they'll have some warmth, but they'll basically be left alone for the next 10 or 15 minutes while we prepare our side. And so to prepare the side, what we're going to do is we're going to just put a little bit more oil down on the griddle. And this is actually a pretty simple one. We just kind of spread this around just like we did before. We're going to keep all of those steak juices in there because those are really going to help when it comes to the flavor. And so I don't know, again, with the lighting, I don't know how well you can see, but this is our side. We've got asparagus. Now I know some people grill this directly on the grill. Personally, I like it when it's done on like a cast iron or a metal or something like this. And so with that oil there, what we're going to do is we're basically just going to drop this on. We haven't done anything to it. We trimmed it up a little bit. We're going to put that right there on top of the grill surface, and we'll add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of butter, and we'll just cook that until the ends get nice and charred and it's real nice and floppy. It's going to be a great side for this steak. Okay, so this asparagus has been on now for just a little while, and what I've done is we've got that oil down. I put down about a half a stick of butter. It's a lot of surface area, a lot of asparagus, and so we just want to make sure that we get everything a nice coating. And again, it's still that hot griddle. We want to make sure that we kind of char this, and then especially at the ends, that they get nice and charred. So we're going to give everything a nice contact with the griddle. We're just going to make sure everybody has a place to lay down here and get nice and happy. You know, I used to watch Emerald all the time, and he would talk about everybody getting nice and happy. So the asparagus is getting happy. The steaks are sitting here. They're getting nice and happy. This is going to be a great meal. Okay, so this is that finished steak, and you can see that it's been resting. We've got that nice crust going on here, and that's because we had a real high temperature griddle. We put the oil down. We just kind of let it sit there. We flipped it a couple of times. We put butter on top, a garlic clove we rubbed over top of it, and we brought it up to about 120 degrees, and then we let it rest for another 10 or 15 minutes. And now you can just kind of see what the finished product looks like. We've got a beautiful, warm, pink center, and that's just gonna be so tender. This is a ribeye steak, and we're gonna serve it with a side of those charred asparagus. And so this is the perfect steak on a Blackstone 36-inch griddle.